The government resulting from this weekend's election in Peru will have to face an economic crisis aggravated by the pandemic that has left more than 3 million people out of work and increased poverty rates by 1.8 million, according to the International Monetary Fund. Our correspondent, Verónica Insausti, brings us more details about the current situation in the country.
8.5 out of every 10 workers are in the informal sector. One of the worst consequences of the pandemic was the paralyzation of economic activities, reaching 62% of the gross domestic product. More than 500,000 small and medium-sized businesses went bankrupt.
The economy shrank last year by 11.4%, and obviously this is reflected in the drastic fall in employment, both formal and informal. If we talk about figures, we are referring to 3 million new unemployed, and to this we add the effect of the pandemic on people's health and obviously the lack of health care services by the state.
Burnell believes that the next government should implement emergency public policies to prioritize the 85% of informal workers over the traditional measures that have not solved the economic crisis.
But the question is whether there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that is still not there. There is a reactivation plan that has been implemented since May last year, but apparently it has not achieved the expected results, and so people are still waiting for options, and it is in this context that polarization is taking place in the second round of elections here in Peru.
The economic proposals of candidates Fujimori and Castillo are completely opposed. While the candidate of Popular Force insists in keeping the current state of affairs, the leader of Free Peru proposes a model of nationalization and state intervention. The fact is that the country that they are going to take over has a serious institutional problem, and the macroeconomic stability of the last decades has not had any real positive impact on the population, according to The Economist.
That connection is the one that has not occurred in the last 20 years in Peru, because the leaders have not made that kind of reforms, maybe because of corruption. Then the second task is to start implementing those reforms, but such reforms do not have an immediate impact. So what is to be done in the meantime? We will have to design a plan to support small businesses. That's where most jobs are created, provide direct support to the population, because what people do not have is money. They have no money and are desperate because they have nothing to eat.
The new government will inherit a state with a public debt of 36%, weak institutions, and a tax administration body focused on taxing 15% of formal workers out of the entire population. Reactivating the economy of the vast majority at a time of health and economic crisis will be a challenge that will require political consensus beyond political preferences.
Verónica Insausti, teleSUR, Perú.